We learned previously that a slope is how steep a line is. What we're going to be working on this lesson is actually finding the slope. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to find slopes of lines that travel through 2 points, given those 2 points. All right, a few things that we already know about. We know that slope is represented by the letter M. We also know that it's a rise divided by a run, and rise is represented with X, and run is represented with Y. Okay, there's actually a formula that we can use to actually get the slope, and I'm just going to draw us a picture of what we're going to be talking about here. Whoops, that was a really bad line, sorry. Okay, let's say I have these 2 points right here. Okay, and we're going to connect them to make a line. What I would like to know is how steep is that line, so what is the slope of that line? I'm going to call this first point x1, y1, because it's just my first x and y, and this one I'm going to call x2, y2 because it's my second x and y. What I would like to know is how steep is that line? So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the rise. So how far from one point to the other does that line rise? And to figure that out, we'd basically just be subtracting the y's to figure out how far it rises. So in my formula, I'm going on the top, I'm going to have y2 minus y1. And then we're next going to look at how far it runs. So to get from one point to the other, in the x direction, how far would I have to go? And to get that distance, I could subtract those two x's. So it's going to be x2 minus x1. So we actually will be using that formula to help us find the slope. All right, so what we are going to be doing is finding the slope of a line that passes through points. On each of these, although it's not necessary to draw a picture, I'm always going to draw a picture so that we can see exactly what we're trying to find. Okay, so the first one, it goes through negative 2, 2. And 5, 6. So the first thing that I'm going to do is draw myself a picture. We've got the point negative 2, 2, which is to the left 2 and up 2, and then 5, 6, over to the right 5 and up 6. Okay, so I'm going to connect those two. Okay, whoops. All right, we want to find out how steep is that line. All right, one thing I do notice from the left to the right, it's going up, so my slope is going to be positive, so I'll just kind of keep that in mind. All right, first thing that I like to do is label my first point as x1 and y1, and my second point as x2 and y2. And I'm going to write up here that this is the formula that we will be using. All right, so I'm going to put m equals, we just basically follow the formula, y2 minus y1, so 6 minus 2, and then divided by x2 minus x1, so 5 minus negative 2. All right, so 6 minus 2 is 4 up top, and then minus a negative becomes plus a positive, so 5 plus 2 is 7 on the bottom. So my slope is 4/7. Notice I did get a positive answer, just like what I was supposed to get. All right, one other way, if you're not really into memorizing formulas, basically the rise was the y, so it's going to be the second values that we're going to subtract, and then we're going to subtract the first value. So that's just kind of another way that you could do it. All right, the next one is going to be 0, 0. And 1, 3. So again, first thing that we're going to do is just draw a picture of what we're looking at here. We've got 0, 0, and then we have 1, 3. Okay, if we connect them. I do notice that I'm going, as I'm traveling to the left to the right, I'm going up, so I know my answer should be positive. And I should also notice the difference between these two lines, that this line should be steeper, so I should get a bigger answer for my slope. So hopefully that will happen. So I've got my first point will be x1 and y1. My second point will be x2, y2. All right, I'm ready to go here. So the formula is y2 minus y1, so 3 minus 0. And then we'll have x2 minus x1, which is 1 minus 0. So 3 minus 0 is 3, 1 minus 0 is 1. And that does reduce because 3 divided by 1 is 3. So my slope will be 3. And notice I do get quite a bit bigger answer than the first one, which is what I was expecting. All right, if I did it without using a formula, I take that y minus the y and the x minus the x. All right, next example, we've got negative 2, 1 and 4, negative 3. I would suggest at this point, if you're feeling comfortable, to go ahead and try it on your own, pause the video, and then come back and see if you got the right answer. All right, first thing I like to do is draw a picture. And again, this isn't totally necessary, but it's kind of helpful, I think. And then we've got 4, negative 3. So I'm going to connect those two. And so now I've got a picture of what the slope is going to look like. As I'm going from left to right, I'm headed down, so I should expect my answer to be negative. So I should just check that when I'm done. All right, my first point, I'll label x1, y1. My second point, I'll label x2, y2. And then I'm ready to find the slope. So we're going to have y2 minus y1. So I'll have negative 3 minus 1. And then x2 minus x1, I'll have 4 minus negative 2. All right, negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. And then 4 minus negative 2 becomes 4 plus positive 2, which is 6. And then from here, if we can reduce a fraction, let's go ahead and reduce it. That would reduce to negative 2/3. Please notice that I did get a negative answer, and that's exactly what I was expecting. All right, negative 1, 2, and 4, 2 this time. Okay, first thing again I like to do is draw myself a picture. So I've got negative 1, 2, and I've got 4, 2. And if I connect them, notice I've got a line going straight across. I should notice if I've got a line going straight across and I want to know how steep is that line, it's not steep at all. So I should expect to get an answer of 0. So hopefully I will do that as I use my formula. The first point is x1, y1. The second point is x2, y2. So if I'm using that formula, y2 minus y1 is 2 minus 2. And then x2 minus x1 is 4 minus negative 1. That's going to give me 2 minus 2, which is 0. And 4 minus negative 1 becomes 4 plus 1, which is 5. 0 divided by 5 is 0. So we did just fine. All right, one more example. We'd like to find the slope of the line that goes through the points 2, 4 and 2, 6. Again, I'm going to start by drawing a picture. So we'll go over 2 and up 4, and then we'll go over 2 and up 6. All right, so we've got that line. And I notice on this line, if I'm looking for a slope of that line, think of trying to climb up that line. It would be absolutely impossible to climb up that line, like walk up that line. You'd fall off, gravity would not hold you on. So actually, this should give us an undefined answer. So that's what we're going to be looking for when we find the slope. So label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Notice I label them exactly the same way every single time. So I've got m equals y2 minus y1, so 6 minus 4, over x2 minus x1, which is 2 minus 2. So 6 minus 4 is 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, 2 divided by 0, you cannot do 2 divided by 0. 0 cannot go into 2 any number of times. You can't think of a number to multiply 0 by to get 2. It just will not work. So on your calculator, it might say error, but we know that is just something you cannot do. So it would be called an undefined answer, and that's exactly what we are expecting. So hopefully now you can use the slope formula to find the slope between 2 points.